Welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast. I'm Lonnie Goldsmith, the editor of TC Jewfolk. This week we kick off Jewish Disabilities Awareness and Inclusion Month by welcoming Tasya Rosenfeld Kelen to the podcast. Tasya is the owner of Isidore Nut Company, and she talks about how she went from nearly shutting her business down to revitalizing it by moving operations and becoming an inclusive hiring company. Tasya talks about the evolution that has come from that decision and how the company now stands for something more than just a healthy and delicious snack on this week's Who the Folk podcast. Tasya Rosenfeld Kelen, welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lonnie. It's a pleasure to be here.
You are a repeat guest on Who the Folk. You and I talked in the pre-podcast days about Isidore Nut Company, and which is your business. It is delicious. I have a bag that you brought me staring me down right now, which I will enjoy later. And one of the things that's changed from the last time we talked is where you're producing the product and how you've sort of evolved, I think is the right way, your business model some. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those two things?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for inviting me to be on this podcast. This is a lot of fun. And I think it's actually my first podcast that I've ever been on.
This is very exciting.
This is very exciting. Since we last connected, we moved our production facility to a place called j-daim. It stands for Jewish Housing and Programming. It's in Golden Valley. And they have a commercial kitchen. And I didn't even know that I was looking for a new commercial kitchen. I actually was starting to feel like things were not going in the direction I wanted them to go, and I wasn't feeling that the longevity was going to be there, particularly as just the opportunity to scale was feeling less and less viable, and bigger nut companies were able to scale faster and able to tout a lot of the important values that I have, which is sourcing sustainably and being able to talk about that, and high protein, low sugar. So those were our and delicious. And those were really our key purposes for being, trying to reduce our eco footprint. And other companies were growing up around us and able to scale faster. And I felt like we're just not able to play in this field in an effective way. And I was pretty much ready to close up shop at the end of 2018 after holiday season would net me a chance to, make a clean break. But everything changed in August of 2018 when I was invited to tour this almost finished commercial kitchen in Golden Valley, in a space that was run by j-daim, called Cornerstone Creek Apartments, which is independent living for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And when I got a tour of this gleaming, brand new kitchen, I was told that there's an opportunity to work with some of the tenants of Cornerstone Creek. And from that moment on, the floodgates opened in my brain, and I realized we had the potential to be so much more than just a nut company.
So part of the reason I wanted to have you in, it is beginning of February, and February is Jewish Disability Awareness and Inclusion Month. And so part of why, first of all, it's always good to talk to you. So I'm welcome to have you in whenever.
You too.
But part of the reason that I thought it was a really good time to have you back in, you've had a little more than a year now in the space where you are working with and employing people who have disabilities as your employees, who are doing the work that any, I'm using air quotes here, able-bodied or able-minded person could do. Why was, after seeing the space and learning that you could work with the people who are tenants at Cornerstone Creek, why was that so important for you, and why do you think it gave you such a, even say, revitalization to Isidore Nut Company?
Oh, I I was so excited for the potential to work with a group of people who are completely overlooked in mainstream employment. It wasn't even on my radar, honestly, to work with people with disabilities. But once I was told that this was an opportunity, it made me feel like we could have such a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose to our company, that we could stand for something so much more than just a healthy, delicious snack. And if that meant that we could help help draw awareness to the importance of employing people with different abilities, with different disabilities, that was going to be a game changer for me.
So how many employees do you have that are Cornerstone Creek residents?
Well, so what's interesting, I can answer that question, but what's interesting is starting at Cornerstone Creek and hiring a couple of people from the get-go was just the opening the door to the possibility and realizing that there is an untapped, amazing workforce that, is just hungry to be employed. So we currently have 2 employees through Cornerstone Creek, but because of our relationship with Cornerstone Creek and through JHAP, Jewish Housing and Programming, and an organization called Inclusive Networking, we have connected to other organizations that offer us access to people with disabilities. And so that was really the kickoff. By moving to the facility within JHAP, that was the kickoff. But it actually has given us the opportunity to meet so many more people with disabilities through, a myriad of different organizations in the Twin Cities.
And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but you didn't know that this network even existed. All these possibilities were out there.
I didn't. And you know what I feel like? So there is 80% unemployment in the disability community.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And you know what I think? And this is, and you probably can share this, they're pretty invisible.
Yeah.
We don't really see people with disabilities out because they don't have the resources. I mean, sure, they exist, but they're minimal, and there aren't enough people who are available to be job coaches, and there aren't enough people who see the need. And so hiring someone with a disability is it's kind of the last thing on your radar.
Yeah.
And so really, it wasn't anything that I'd even comprehended. But now that I know about it, I just kind of want to shout from the rooftops. Like, everyone needs to get out there and see the potential in hiring someone with a disability, because there is so much passion, there's so much drive, there is so much incredible commitment to the work, and that's what I've found is people are people.
Yeah.
We see people first, and they have amazing abilities to prove themselves. And we all just want to be valued for what we can contribute. And if you can really just see your way to give people a chance, you'll find that someone with a disability can really do that job you need.
And I think that point you made about we just want to be valued, I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
Whether you have a disability or not, you just want to be valued, and you want to be valued. You want to be given an opportunity, and you want to be able to show that you can do a job just like anybody else. Now, did you have to alter anything to accommodate in terms of the way the production preparation, anything that I don't know what goes into into the production side of what you do, but did you have to do anything markedly different to make that work?
Well, Yes and no and yes. And I'll explain what that means. One, some of our first employees, so most people who have a disability have access to state funding to get a job coach. So oftentimes someone will come along with that individual that you've hired to be alongside them to make sure they'll be a success.
Okay.
So it's a really great opportunity because there's one more person that's involved who can help the person you've hired do the best job they possibly can without doing the job for them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So one is we hired someone who came in a couple hours a week, and she had a job coach, and that job coach was really good about helping give her the tools to say, okay, if we're going to fill a 4-ounce bag of nuts, she wrote out a piece of paper that had basically a scale on it, and there was a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 was 4.0, and then it was 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. And so if Amy, who was filling the bag, filled it over, then Lindsay, her job coach, could say, Amy, you're at 4.3. Where on the scale should you, how many do you need to take out to get to 4.0? And so those sorts of steps.
Yeah.
Those sorts of steps in the very beginning were what helped lead to Amy's ability to be a success. But what I learned as an employer is that we had these craft bags. You fill the bags, you close the bags, and then we have these really pretty paper labels that are stickers, and you have to apply them. And there's a little bit of an art form to how you have to apply them.
Sure.
And they have to be centered, and they have to be smoothed out so there's no bubbles, and the paper has to stick to that craft bag. And what I realized, and this wasn't news to me, but this has always been an art form, and it's what I tell every employee I hire, like it's kind of an art form and it takes a little bit. Well, anyone with a dexterity challenge, they're going to have a hard time putting that label on.
Yep.
And one of the things that's held us back has been shelf life, as well as, just having these fussier bags. And so I'd always wanted to be in a pre-printed bag. And Lonnie, it was so exciting because what I realized was like, oh my God, if we had pre-printed bags, then Amy could be successful all by herself. There wouldn't be a second person who had to come along and put that label on for them.
Yeah.
Right now, that's where we're at. We have 2 people doing the job for one person.
Right.
Because we want Amy to be a success.
Absolutely.
And we're going to go to pre-printed bags. And the great thing about that is when you said, did you have to modify? Well, what we've learned is we're so fortunate that we've learned that this modification is only going to make our product so much better because we're going to be able to tell the story of the goodness inside and the goodness that we're trying to do and the impact we're trying to have on the world.
And it's not just people with dexterity issues who might. I would have a hard time like centering and smoothing and having it look just right. I can only imagine somebody who does have that challenge.
Yeah.
How hard and how frustrating it must be for them.
Yeah.
To want to do it right. But what's holding them back isn't, a lack of desire. It's just that they can't do it.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be so frustrating. So it's nice that it's helping you innovate the way that you're going to start, your production process.
Yeah.
And that piece of it.
Yeah. And then someone like Amy can be a success from start to finish. She can fill that bag and she can close that bag and she can hand it off and she'll have it measured correctly, and then she can fill the next one and it's done. It's like it's all done. And that's going to be a tremendous innovation for us because it'll mean productivity is going to go up. We're going to have greater opportunity to promote our product on a national platform because we'll have a greater shelf life.
Yeah.
And all of those things led just from needing to have a change come about.
I think one of the really neat things we had purchased one of the gift boxes at the JHAP Holiday Bazaar that has I think it was like 3 or 4 small bags, but also inside was a card where the employee who packaged it writes their name, and it tells a little bit of the story.
Yeah.
How did that the decision to sort of use that opportunity to tell a little bit about the evolution, and where did that come from?
So that actually was our Minnesota Women-Owned Goods gift box.
Okay.
That we're actually going to do a Galentine's gift box.
Oh, very fun.
So it's featuring other Minnesota women-owned companies, and that was a big piece for us, that we wanted to draw attention to just all the amazing Minnesota women-owned companies that make incredible products. And also to then give our employees a greater opportunity to do the packaging, and to be able to put that insert in that you mentioned that highlights, there's a place for the individual to sign their name. It just gives them more ownership of the process. And it draws it back to the fact that we're trying to reduce 80% unemployment in the disability community. And this person has a huge smile on their face in the picture, and it just gives that ownership back to them, to feel like I'm such a part of this. I'm not just somebody who came in to fill a job for a few hours. I'm part of a team.
Right. And I know that give a shout out to Abby who got to write her name and who packaged that up for when my wife purchased it, was just so proud of to be able to put her name on that and to package that up for us. And it was really, my wife said it was just so neat to be able to see that, how excited she was about doing a job.
Abby is amazing. Abby is one of these incredible individuals who, you can imagine, when she was in elementary school, she was the kid who was bothering the other kids, and the teacher had to say, sit down, take your seat, don't bother the other children. Abby can talk to complete strangers. Abby's the woman you want at your demos. She's the one who's going to say, have you tried Isadora Nuts? Come on over and try Isadora Nuts. She has a gift. I joke with her. I say some people would rather have a root canal than talk to complete strangers. And Abby has no fear. She's so proud. She takes her job so seriously. Lonnie, she keeps me on track. I'm not kidding.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great to have an employee like that.
Yeah.
But again, to have somebody who takes that kind of pride in what they do, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And Abby's, she's, and this is where it comes back to person first. Mm-hmm. She's just this amazing, gifted individual who is passionate. She's strong. She's independent. She's doing the polar plunge in March, and she sends me updates via Facebook and text to say, I'm doing the polar plunge in March and you need to donate. Like, she's on top of her. I mean, this woman could be a CEO. That's incredible. So focused, and she knows what she wants and she knows how to go after it. I mean, we all can learn from an Abby. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, one of the things you mentioned before we started, you and Nicole Rabinowitz, who is the kitchen manager.
She's a kitchen manager at JHAP. She also started Inclusive Networking.
Oh, okay.
Working to help other, pretty much, she'll do training for different companies to help them with inclusive, customized employment. Oh. And she goes into the schools as well. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So you had mentioned that you and Nicole on February 22nd, was it? Okay. The 22nd, the two of you are going to tag team the Devar Torah at Adath Yeshurun, the Shabbat service. Have you given thought yet about
what that's going to be about?
Well, first of all, it's a tremendous honor to even be asked to give a Devar Torah. Adath is my childhood synagogue home, even though I'm a member of Shir Tikva now. Etta Berry and Leslie Fogel asked us to do this Devar Torah specifically because it's Jewish Disability Employment Awareness Month. And so what they really want to understand is, what does inclusive employment look like at a place like JHAP? What have we learned? What have I, as an employer learned? And, I'm hoping our audience is a mix of potential employers, a mix of family members, a mix of people with disabilities who want to continue to carry the message that we just have to spread the gospel, for lack of a better word.
Spread the gospel at Shabbat service.
We need to spread the gospel at Shabbat service that there is a tremendous untapped workforce that is available and hungry to prove themselves.
Well, I think there's clearly a ton that you learned from this process. Clearly it revitalized and energized your, what you've started back in 2012, I think it was, right? And 2013. And that, that you went from the brink of maybe deciding it was time to be done to really energize what you do and how you've decided to do it. I think it's certainly a model for what other businesses can do. Did you think that was that you were going to maybe be this model of what businesses could, how they could implement inclusive hiring practices?
Well, I don't know. It probably doesn't come as too much of a surprise that when I'm passionate about something, I kind of jump in with both feet, and I really want to spread that message, and I feel like the movement of healthy foods, wellness, healthy living, clean living, all of the things that my grandfather Isidore instilled in me, and my dad, Bill, who passed away in March, believed was food is medicine. And so from the very beginning, my mission with Isidore Nut Company was to have a delicious, healthy snack that was good for you and good for the planet. And so I knew I wanted to be an advocate in that sense, but I think over the last, 6 years, those companies that I mentioned before that have been building up and able to scale faster, they also heard the consumer say, we want healthier food. We want healthier options. We want real food options. Yeah. And what I have wanted to do is spread that message. And now I think there's even a greater platform that food can be that link from healthy you to healthy community. Yeah. And we get to do that one bag at a time of nuts, to say, we want to strengthen our community. And like I said, we're going to do a whole redesign, pre-printed bags with a really exciting message to be that voice, to be that inspiration to other companies, to individuals, to say use your voice for a purpose that can make the world a better place. And so food as justice, food as equality, food mission as trying to strengthen the world and make it a better place. And can I just throw in one little...
plug away.
So I just got back from San Francisco. I don't know if you know this. We just won a Good Food Award in the Best Snack category for our Zesty Lemon Rosemary nuts.
I didn't know that. It's my favorite ones that you do. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. It was really exciting, and it was this incredible platform because it was a 3-day weekend in San Francisco. The first night was the awards ceremony. Our Zesty Lemon Rosemary was the chosen bite. It was the welcome bite that people received as they walked into the hall.
Oh, that's incredible.
I have a really good picture if you want to post it.
Oh, no, I'll take it.
And that was super exciting. And then the next day was a mercantile, which is sort of like an untrade show. And so it gave us the opportunity to say, yeah, we have this award-winning product, and we also have this incredible mission of wanting to make the world a better place and reduce unemployment in the disability community.
That's amazing.
So,
what an opportunity to have a platform like that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I did not look back at how you answered these two questions that we end on every time. So we'll see if your answers have changed. We'll have to look back later. Favorite Jewish food?
Oh my goodness. Favorite Jewish food?
While you're thinking, funny story. It turns out I did not ask that question last time, so there's no comparison. You're off the hook, so you can tell us whatever you want and not have to compare it to a previous answer.
Okay, I think it probably would have to be brisket.
Okay.
And I will say, because now I'm a food maker, I grew up with my mother's brisket, which is very, very good. But I recently got turned on to Smitten Kitchen's brisket recipe that you can make in the slow cooker and then transfer to the Instant Pot, maybe? Or maybe I do it all in the Instant Pot now. It's just the most melt-in-your-mouth amazing thing. I can't get enough. Okay, two things, right?
Okay.
So brisket and then borscht.
Oh.
Because a really good borscht is like the thing to get you through a cold Minnesota winter with the beets and whether it's beef or just cabbage and potatoes and that really yummy, rich broth. And some people
really hearty.
It was so hearty, so just kind of warms you up and just makes you feel so comforted.
Okay. Favorite Jewish holiday?
I think it's Passover. I put a lot of pressure on myself around Passover. I feel like every year I'm like surprised that it's almost here and I haven't done enough to get ready for it. And I
think that's everybody, though. I think that's a lot of people, at least.
I don't know. I think when I look on Instagram, some people are preparing further in advance than I think to do it. But it's a tie. It's a tie between Passover because, it brings everyone together and it's a chance to be reminded of the history and help my children better understand the legacy that they come from and Rosh Hashanah and the high holidays in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur because it gives us a chance to look forward and it gives us a chance to reflect. And particularly after losing my dad this year, Yizkor had a completely different meaning for me than I've ever known. When you lose a parent and you're in the room with other people who have lost a loved one, it's kind of transformational.
Well, Tasya Rosenfeld Kelen, thank you for joining us. Mazel tov on your award.
Thank you.
It's very exciting, and thank you for joining us and telling us all about how you sort of evolved your business and revitalized it all at the same time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
The Who the Folk podcast is a product of Jew Folk Inc. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. If you have a suggestion of someone who should be on the show, please email me at editor@tcjewfolk.com. Also, go to tcjewfolk.com/podcast to listen to our new shows, We Won, Let's Eat, the Jewish Food Podcast, and The Jews Are Tired, a weekly recap of Jewish news through an analytical lens. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.